Really fun stuff today. I'm really excited because we've known each other for so long.
Yes.
Right? And, our kind of mission here with this podcast thing is we've spent a lot of time over the previous episodes. We've had realtors talking about growing market share, how they started in the real estate business, how they built their teams, how they cold call.
Okay.
We've had people on talking about their specific drill down area. Like we had Chris Summers talking about Center City real estate. Great guy.
Awesome.
But he's really tied into, the politics of the city and what moves the market there. Great content. We had Javier on here previously, and he talks about NAR and PAR, and he's, the legislative side of it, and how he takes that and manipulates and motivates his people with that. So, but today, I wanted to have you here because you do so much stuff.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
You're a market owner for Keller Williams in more than one market with a partner. I guess Tom's still with you.
Yes.
Yes. So you're in the suburbs. You do some stuff in the city, and you're at the shore.
Yes.
And what I'm really looking for today a little bit is for you to confirm or dispel like this myth I have about the current market.
Okay.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. So I feel like there's two underserved markets right now. And I think they are on opposite ends of the spectrum.
Okay.
I feel like one underserved market, and it kind of always has been, is low to moderate income buyers, right? And I think that's an underserved market because a lot of realtors who aren't in it a lot, and a lot of consumers who are new, because a lot of them are first-time home buyers.
Yes.
I think there is an issue with awareness of the products that you can use to best serve that market. It's not always PHFA, which is, as you know, is cumbersome, time-consuming, it's bureaucratic.
Yep.
So there are other products that have come to the market recently. Like we have 100% financing that's an 80% first, a 20% second. We could get into the product, but I think that's an underserved market. I think the other underserved market is the luxury market.
Yep.
Because there hasn't really been a lot of mortgage product, let's call it creativity.
Okay.
Right? So remember when we used to do a lot of luxury homes, you had things like coffee homes and adjustable rate products that made those big mortgage, those big ticket purchases more affordable.
That's right.
And, really since COVID, we haven't had that.
No.
Everybody's kind of jammed into the Fannie Freddie space.
You lost the flexibility.
I think it's become a crowded space for realtors and consumers in that, let's call it, $300,000 to $600,000, $700,000. Anything lower or higher than that, I think is a big opportunity for home buyers and realtors.
Yeah, agreed.
Right?
Agreed. And we just had this conversation at our State of the Market meeting about the underserved markets and getting back to the basics of real estate. I think what's happened is we were in this crazy market. We never knew what was going to happen with COVID. COVID ended up being better, knock on wood, than we had thought it was going to be for the real estate industry. Mm-hmm. And we did really well. But a lot of people got into the business because we were doing so well and the market was doing so well. But a lot of those people didn't learn how to do real estate. It was almost being an order taker, really, because you put a property on the market, you were getting 5, 10, 15, 20 offers, selling way over. So the skills, I think, were lost. I think there's a skill gap.
Mm-hmm.
So we need to sit down and talk about education and educating the agents on how do you reach out to that consumer that has the need, which is that first-time home buyer market, for sure, way underserved. And like you said, on the luxury end of things, we're in a new luxury market. Look at prices have gone up so much that where I live now, Collegeville, Upper Providence, is a luxury market. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't a luxury market just 4 years ago. So, the skills are different. Dealing with that type of a consumer and client is different. So we need to make sure that as brokers that we're educating our agents on exactly what it takes to deal with those two ends of the marketplace. That middle side, it's always going to be busy. They're always going to be well served. But it's that I worry more about the first-time home buyers, to be honest.
Yes.
They're the ones that need housing so badly, and they're renting, and they're spending all of their saved-up money on rent. They're not building any equity. They're not building wealth, and we need to teach them how to build wealth.
Yeah, rentflation has really had a huge impact on that. And, I'm sure you see it too. There are only a couple of obstacles in that market. It's either credit score, or it's assets, or it's income. And if you can solve for, and it's usually one, not all of those variables that are an obstacle. So if you have the products and the knowledge, as you said, that you can solve for one or more of those obstacles, then usually you can get someone in a home.
100%.
And I think we're getting back to, with rentflation being what it is and interest rates starting to come down, I really think we're going to be getting close to that sweet spot where it's almost as affordable to buy as it is to rent.
Yeah, I think we're really close.
I think we're really close. Yeah. And, speaking of knowledge, a lot of people don't understand. I go through this exercise with both realtors and consumers sometimes, and they go, I never thought of that. And that is the tax deductibility of the property that you buy, and your net carry costs monthly can be hugely impacted favorably if you take that into consideration. And when you and I first got in the business, we used to go through that.
Yes.
That was part of the coaching teaching process for new realtors and consumers. Yeah. And I just don't think we do that much anymore.
No, but again, we got away from all that. The last it's at least 6 years. It's really been just how take a property, get it sold, move on, and it was so busy that people weren't plugging into the training. They weren't coming in. They weren't learning what they need to do. It's time to get creative again. Go back to those ideas. There's so many things you can do to put a deal together, and it's all legal and able to be done. So do the agents know how to do it?
Right. And that's kind of what we spent a large part of this podcast on over the previous episodes is to educate and motivate. Mm-hmm. Either new realtors or realtors that maybe have kind of lost that. And then, of course, consumers, first-time home buyers who never had it. I mean, a lot of times a conversation with first-time home buyers, I know you hear it all the time too, is they legitimately don't know where to start.
They don't.
I mean, they walk into an open house, you start asking questions, they glaze over. They just want someone to help them start.
That's right. And I think that has to be the compassionate side of things for realtors. We need to take a step backwards and spend time with that buyer consultation.
Right.
Because one of the best things I came out of the commission lawsuit for me was that the agents now have to have a contract with their client before they take them out to look at homes. So what does that mean? You have to build a relationship.
Right.
Before you're out running, looking at properties. So you get to know the buyer better, you get to know their situation a little bit better, and then you can try and find products that fit their needs. And like you said, there's so many products out there. It's not just one size fits all. So do we have enough education to understand that? Do we have enough connections in the mortgage industry to make sure we have the relationships to call and say, hey, I've got this buyer in this situation. What do you think we can do that best serves them? And take that time, that extra step to really care. And I think that's where we need to be. I
agree 100%. And, I hear it all the time when I speak with realtors or sometimes, first-time home buyers have heard it so much and they've been coached. The first thing they want to know is, do you have any grant money?
Right.
You don't always need grant money.
No.
There's other ways to solve that problem without going through the bureaucracy, particularly in Center City, Philadelphia, where you have to, you have to go through the educational process before you sign the agreement to sell. And, the other thing is, well, do you do PHFA? Nothing against PHFA. They serve their purpose, but it is the most bureaucratic process for a lender. And it just tacks on time that a lot of times you don't have, particularly in a busy market. Yeah. I know 6-8 months ago, PHFA loans, you couldn't close one in 4 months.
Okay.
Right? It's just time-consuming, frustrating relationship killers, I call them, because nobody's happy at the end of that transaction.
Well, no one wants to wait.
No.
Yeah. People want immediate gratification.
Immediate gratification. And you're right. It's just looking for the right lender, having a relationship to know what other products are available that can expedite this particular scenario to get it to closing. Yeah.
And I think, thinking back to when we were doing a lot of our own stuff before the market went in different directions and we're in the positions we're in now, we were always looking for those relationships with lenders. Knowing what the products are, having a great relationship so you can call on you at any time and just say, hey, listen, I've got this person. What's the best thing for them to do? Because we don't know your business as well as you know your business, and you don't know ours as well as we know it. So I think that connection and that relationship is it's so key and so important.
It is. And I think for 2025, I mean, there are a lot of things that could happen. We have some political pressures that are moving the market, both in real estate and mortgages. But I feel like there's just so much opportunity in 2025 based on a lot of things. I think we get some inventory back. I think where interest rates are now has been normalized. People are not waiting for 3%, and to have that conversation about, there's a cost to waiting. If you're waiting for the interest rate to come down, home prices are going up. We're in a weird market.
Exponentially.
Yes, exponentially.
Yeah.
We're in that market where home prices just aren't tagging or trailing or following interest rate movements. They're going up regardless, right? So if you wait for interest rate movement to come down where you think it should be, you're losing money.
Absolutely.
You're losing equity. You're losing wealth, essentially.
It's counterintuitive. Right? Yeah. It definitely is not the best choice because, like you said, if you look at the history of our market, even when the market tanked back in 08, 09, we didn't get affected like much of the country.
Right.
Especially in this Northeast corridor, it's very protected. Our values stay. If we see 3 to 6% backwards, that's kind of a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like this waiting is not smart. It's not a smart option for any buyer. So, and I think also I was telling the agents, if you sit down with the buyer and have this consultation and just show them, what does the number look like? Because at the end of the day, they focus on that rate, but really what do they need to focus on? The payment. What is the payment you feel comfortable with? Let me see what you fit into. Start there and then work in that direction because I think we presume a lot of times where this buyer really is and we focus on the wrong things because those interest rates being at 2.5%, 3%, 3.5%, 4%, they stayed at that ridiculously low, unreasonable rate for too long that they became normal.
A lottery ticket rate.
Right? They became normal and they're not normal. They never were normal. So we're back into a normal market. If you look at the 40-year average, it's like 7.2%.
Right.
So, okay, rates are pretty good if you look at it from that perspective. So I would not encourage anybody to wait. If you're thinking of moving, there's a situation, you're whatever it is going on in your life is saying, hey, it's time for us to make a move. Let's sit down with a real estate agent, a professional, and let them guide you through. And then meet with a loan officer and say, okay, here's what we have, here's what we need. How can we make this work?
Well, I know that you and your company, you're with Keller Williams, and they are all about the win-win. They're about building wealth. So I'm sure you and your agents go at it at a much more proactive approach for building wealth and things like that. And it boggles my mind sometimes when, people are willing to lose that kind of appreciation, waiting for a half, even a full percent reduction in interest rate. Yep. And I always say that it doesn't matter if you slept through that 8 a.m. economics class in college or not. Supply and demand still rules the market.
It does.
Right. And as long as there's a demand for real estate, prices are going to continue to go up. And if you wait, you lose. You snooze, you lose in real estate.
Right.
I often say it's always a good time to buy real estate, and people think that's corny. And they're like, what do you mean by that? I'm like, well, let's look at the history.
Yep.
If you buy real estate and you wait, you will make money.
That's right.
Period. Right.
That's 100%.
You've seen it over your career. You have clients that have come back 2, 3, 4 times, I'm sure.
Yep.
Did any of them really lose money at all?
No.
They all made money.
Everybody
right?
made money.
And it's funny. You try to explain to people that, look, if you took that same amount of money and you put it into an S&P 500 fund and you were getting 4, 5, maybe even as high as 7, 8, 9, 10% return, you'd be happy with that.
Yep.
Right? Why wouldn't you be happy doing that in real estate?
Exactly.
It's the same premise and a lot safer.
Well, you still own it. You own the structure,
exactly.
which is really awesome. So, yeah, I don't understand why people aren't more educated in that because it is really important for people to understand that real estate is an amazing asset. If you look at the wealthiest people in the world, what do they have? Huge real estate portfolios. Do they have the other things? Of course, they're very well diversified. But if you're starting out in life, you're getting ready to get married, or you're just graduating from college, you're moving out from your parents' house, really refrain from going into that rental. I think if you could find a way to buy even a duplex where you live in one and rent the other, you can use the FHA product then, or I'm sure there's other products as well. It's a great stepping stone.
That is the most underused strategy that I know of for getting into the real estate market is to buy one, rent one, or better buy one, rent two. If you can find a triplex, things like that, it helps. The extra income helps offset your ability to qualify. It helps with cash flow.
Yep.
I mean, are you managing a property? It's not that difficult to manage a property.
Especially when you're living there, it's not so bad, right?
Right.
It's a nice way to start. And then when you're ready to make that next step, you've got some equity. Now you can use that to springboard into, the house that you want, your dream home or the next step of a home.
And it's a moneymaker. It's a moneymaker.
Absolutely. And you keep that thing and let that just make money all day long.
Yeah.
Hire a property manager if you don't want to deal with the toilets clogging or whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you can even add like components to that. Like you could do like an FHA or a Fannie Mae rehab. If the duplex is a little banged up or so you can buy that as a fixer-upper that generates revenue, and you can actually, finance your rehab into that as well. So some of these products aren't mutually exclusive. You can tie some of the features and benefits together to really make it a good opportunity for a home buyer. But the key is you have to have that conversation. You have to be willing to have that conversation.
Yes. And this is why I'm really excited about the way things have gone with the buyer agents having to sit with that buyer and build that relationship. Because I think, too many people get put into a product or into a property and it's not the best situation. Could there have been a better financing option? If you're spending that time up front, you're front loading that time. Now you're looking for what really suits that buyer the best.
Right.
You're doing them a better service. They're going to be very happy with it. They're going to give you referrals. It's such a great way to just build that long-term relationship where you're working with that couple. Maybe they're going into that duplex. Then you're helping them get into the next house. And then you're watching their kids grow up. And then all of a sudden you're working with their kids and their family. And that's the business that I love.
Yes, I know that. And you've done it spectacularly over the years. And that triangle of trust that you talked about is so important. And I often have, particularly new realtors will call me and they'll say, look, I have this buyer. I met them at an open house or a cold calling, and they want to get pre-approved. Can you speak with them? I'm like, yeah, what works for you? And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, and then I explain, well, look, I feel like the best business model for you and for me and for the buyer is if we get on a Zoom or just on a conference call, we talk about the process, we talk about what the obstacles may or may not be for the buyer, and we create a game plan.
Yeah.
Right. And that way we're all on the same page. Right. So if we need to solve a problem, we solve it together. Right. And it's a great way for new agents to learn the business too, because sometimes I'm sure your organization, as every Keller Williams, is huge on training.
Yes.
And I love doing training at Keller Williams offices because they always show up. The attendance is huge. I'd love to do that.
Yes.
But I think that's important, particularly for new agents or even for old agents that have maybe lost the edge a little bit, let's say, to be involved in those conversations. I just don't think it is as productive just to pass it off to, a bank or a mortgage guy and say, let me know what they qualify for.
No, and that's not, like I said earlier, it's not building the relationship. At the end of the day, relationships are what it's all about. You can serve your customer the best when I trust you to do the best for my customer. This is a win-win because I know you're going to take care of them.
I think let's do a walk back in time.
Okay.
I think I met you. I was introduced to you by a mortgage processor.
Okay.
Tana Montgomery.
Oh, Tana.
That I had in like 1985 or 86.
Okay.
I believe you were an ERA agent.
I was. I worked for my mom.
And you and Tana were like in Girl Scouts or Boy Scouts together,
yes,
right?
That's right.
When we were kids.
That's so funny.
And I remember her saying to me, I have this friend. She's great. You should give her a call. I think that's the first time we ever
That probably is about right.
to each other.
Yeah, I actually sold her house not that long ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she's doing great.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so
that's
funny.
Awesome.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, it's been a while.
The ERA days.
Yeah, right. And so I bring that up because that's not you anymore. You've got a real estate empire going.
Yes.
You've been with Keller Williams now for
23 years.
23 years.
Yeah. Long time. Whew.
And so you've grown that to how many agents you have there now?
280.
280 agents.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
It is nice.
Right. And I see your videos. They show up for meetings. They
do.
You have golf outings. Now you're a philanthropist.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So I'm sure you've done more recently, but my recollection is you were one of the first people I know to be involved with Alex's Lemonade Stand.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So what do you have going on as far as philanthropy is concerned now? What are your pet projects?
Still involved with Alex's Lemonade. We just had our golf outing last year, so we're planning now what we're going to do next year. Still involved with the horse racing, which is how we got involved with Alex's Lemonade Stand. And this is a fleet. Alex's
Kentucky Derby. Or
yeah,
a
he won the
Triple
Preakness and he won the Belmont. We lost the Derby by 8 feet. Still don't forget that. But that was 20 years ago.
Still
Never
a little
forget
sore
it.
about that,
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. It was, it could have been a really good. He should have won that race. But amazing horse. He is done with breeding. We just retired him, so he's still down in Kentucky at the same farm. They wanted to keep him, so he's doing really, really well. And he still helps, with Alex's Lemonade Stand Foundation, which is wonderful.
Terrific.
I'm going to their summit in 2 weeks. So I'll be at their summit to talk about what are their, projects that are upcoming. What are they working on? We're working on Red Day. Red Day is our community day of service for our entire office and, well, our entire country. Every Keller Williams agent takes the day off to go into the community and work. And we're looking at Operation Backpack. And there's a really nice shelter in Royersford that shelters girls. We're thinking about going there and doing something with that. So always trying to give back to the community that takes care of us. At the end of the day, we wouldn't be in business if it wasn't for the community. If they didn't list their homes with us or buy houses with us, they can go anywhere. They come to us. So we feel like it's really important for us to give back. We are the top, producing office in our marketplace by a lot. Our closest competitor did a little over half our production last year.
Wow,
So
that's
we're
amazing.
it's 1 in 5 homes sold by a Keller Williams agent. So that's pretty
That's
impressive
Yeah.
stuff. I think the biggest thing that we're working on right now, you asked, what's my big focus? Right now, if you look at NAR statistics, NAR, they said that 70% of agents didn't sell a house last year. That just hits me right in the heart because how do they feed their family? Like, what are they doing? And they don't get paychecks unless they're selling. So I guess my question or my call to the community out there is, take care of that agent, the one that was really good to you. Make sure you're referring them out. You're staying in touch with them because they work really hard. And most agents I know have a big heart. They're in this business because they love helping people. It's not the most lucrative of businesses unless you're working at a really, really high level. You really do it for the passion of helping people. So stick with those agents, reach out to them, refer them other business so that they can afford to stay in the business and serve the community so well. That's my call.
That's awesome. So we like to give opportunity, provide knowledge for consumers as well as real estate agents. So if you are or if you're recruiting a real estate agent that it's either new or fits that criteria of they do 1 or fewer homes a year, how do you coach them? What suggestions might you have for someone? And I know there are a lot of business models, there are a lot of marketing things that, directions they can go in based on their likes and dislikes, their personalities. But if you could just point out a few things that if they come to you and say, hey, look, I really want to help people. How can I get started being more proficient at helping people in real estate? What would you do?
Well, my first question to anybody, whether they've been in the business a long time and they're just kind of falling backwards in their production, or they're just new to the business and they're trying to get that traction going, the first question is, how hard do they want to work? Because at the beginning, this is building a business. They're individual business owners. So that foundation that they build is so important. So make sure they're making their phone calls and they're working on their database. To me, the number one key thing is your database. If you can get a database up and running really, really well with all the information that's needed and you feed it on a daily basis, and then you use smart plans so you're reaching out to those people on a consistent basis, your business will come. If you can get 201 people in your database, which I think is an extremely small database. Gary Keller's numbers state that you'll probably sell about 4 houses in a year. Okay, more than the national average. Still not enough to live on, if you ask me.
Right.
But it's more than the national average. But that's
you're not buying racehorses and
right. You're not doing any of that.
Philanthropic on
yes,
that, right?
No. You want to build a career worth having, right? So you got to feed into it. If you can get that to 1,000. The deals go up. If you can get it to 5,000, they go up. But it all comes back to the quality of the database. So now you have your database running. Make sure you're educated on the contracts. Do you understand that contract inside and outside? Because when you sit with a consumer, you have to exude confidence. They need to feel really comfortable that you know what you're talking about. So know the contracts. Then educate yourself. Another NAR statistic, the top 0.1% of real estate agents in our industry go out to over 52 training events a year. 52.
Wow.
And I average about 60. So
Justin, that you attend?
That I
you
attend.
Sponsor in your organization?
That I attend. No, we have over 30 training events in our office a month. So every month we have at least 30 training events going on.
Impressive.
And we do get turnout. And I'll tell you, if you look at the agents that show up, they're the agents that are producing at the highest level. So, success leaves clues. Look at it. Look at them. Watch what people are doing. I also think being around and how I learned was through all my mentors, my mom, Betty, Angelo. I just went to the office every day and I was a sponge. I listened to their conversations. If they told me to do something, I did it. I just kind of really learned from everything that they did. And then I just always was like, well, how can I one up that? How can I figure a way to do it better, quicker, faster, smarter? And that's how I outgrew my mentors. And if you are really passionate and you are really committed and you put the time and the energy and the effort in, this business has the sky's the potential. You can make as much money as you want. You can make as little as you want. You can put as much time as you want into it. It's extremely flexible, but you have to be disciplined because that flexibility also creates other problems where we have agents that are not producing at high levels because they're off to the parties and the this and the that. And the other thing I tell agents is don't hang around with other real estate agents. They're not buying houses from you. You need to go out, really get to know the community, serve your community, get on a board for a chamber of commerce or for a school board, or do something where you're going to meet people.
Well, so what I'm hearing, and I've said this, in the podcast and in trainings and things like that too, is that it's really about being persistent.
Yes.
Right. How bad do you want it?
That's right.
Every lead you're not going to monetize immediately.
Nope.
Right. And I tell people all the time that sometimes the activity of the day is the win.
Yes.
You made the effort, you made the calls, you posted the social media content, you did your marketing, you didn't let anything sit until tomorrow that could be done today. Sometimes the activity just has to be the win until they aggregate and monetize.
You're building that momentum.
Is that fair?
That's a very fair statement.
Right.
Absolutely a very fair statement. It's important. And again, that consistency is key. Really key.
So, talk about consistency. You've done great in your market in the PA suburbs. Now you're at the shore.
Yes.
How's that going?
It started off as just a pet project. I go down to Atlantic City. I have a friend, one of my best friends is down there. So I stay at the Ocean Club. So my office is right on the boardwalk. I get to look out the front window at the ocean, which I love. I love the water. So I go down there and I get a lot done. It's, I go down there to relax, but my mind is peaceful there. So I feel like I'm more productive. So I get a lot done. I have 12 agents in that office. So it's a smaller office compared to up here, but it's more of a boutique-y type market down there. But we're on the boardwalk, so we get walk-ins all day long. So we're not out there looking for the consumer. They're actually coming looking for us, which is very different than the market I'm in up here. But I love it. I love both. I think they're very interesting. I don't know that I would be down there full time. That in the winter, it's really kind of dead down there. Right. No, we still have people walking the boardwalk, but not quite as much. So it's weekends are my time down the shore.
Okay. Well, I'm sure you'll be successful.
Yeah. And the market down there Atlantic City is always a funny market. You never know what you're going to get. But it does feel like it
always gives you the illusion that this is the year, that it's on the come.
I know. I'm hoping this is the year.
And there's political conversation about it all the time about it, who's it displacing and the gentrification and things like that. But it always appears, and they seem to be doing the right things down there.
Yes, it feels like things are. I opened this office up. I've been wanting to do it for years, but about 3 years ago, and because I saw the market changing down there, and I saw the leadership changing down there. So I feel like, knock on wood, this is the right time. So I feel like we're going to be there. We've built the relationships over 3 years. I feel we'll reap those rewards coming really soon. So I'm excited about that.
So you have your two businesses essentially, and then you have a team as well, your own team.
Yep.
And you, like anyone who's usually successful in the market, you're active. Like you're listing properties, you're selling properties, you're doing a lot of things.
Yes.
And you have grandkids. We were just
I know.
How
so
do you
exciting.
make all that work? I mean, that's a lot.
It's so funny. People always ask me, how do I do it? Because I basically have 3 full-time jobs.
Right.
And I tell them, I don't think about it. I know that sounds really funny, but I don't think about all the things I'm doing. I just do them. So like my calendar, for instance, I'll look at my calendar the evening before around 6 o'clock to see what do I have the next day, because I don't want to get myself stressed out thinking about all the stuff. Yesterday, I think I went from 5 a.m. till 7 p.m. And most people are like, oh my gosh, that's like working all the time. When do you have fun? I'm like, my job is fun. I really love what I do. So when I go out and meet that new owner and I'm talking to them about their house, or I was with a gentleman yesterday, 76 years old. He's selling 26 acres up in Springford School District. I mean, come on, that's like a slam dunk, right? And he had a developer talking to him who wanted to underpay him. So he asked me to come out just to give him an idea. And I was like, oh no, you're worth about $800,000 more. So, now I spent time with him. That wasn't work. That was like very rewarding. We were walking outside. We walked the property. It was a beautiful day.
Well, and it's gratifying to share your expertise. I mean, that
Yes.
knowledge base didn't just fall out of the sky. I mean, you've accumulated that knowledge base over years of working with, in that market space with people like that. So, and if you're not in it every day, you don't know.
That's right. And that's as being a working broker, I know a lot of my competitors like, oh, but Terese is out there and she's competing against you. I don't compete against my agents ever. And what I try to teach agents is everybody has their own sphere of influence. My sphere is my sphere and your sphere is yours. They very rarely connect.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I personally would want to be affiliated with a market leader who's in the trenches.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean,
So you don't get detached from reality.
exactly.
Like, you know what's going on in the market, what, on every level.
Yeah.
So, you can not only do your job, you can help other people do their jobs. I think that's, lead by
100%.
example is.
Yeah. And I
is
think
the mantra.
I think I've built some big businesses. I had a few people that have been on my team that have branched off and now they have their own teams and they're growing and they're being very productive, but it's because they were around success. They were around my knowledge and they got to watch me do it every day. And then it just kind of became theirs. And it's fun to watch. It's like watching, your little kids growing up and going off on their own and
Right.
building these beautiful careers. And I love mentoring. Besides working with buyers and sellers, working with new agents and teaching them this business is so rewarding. And somebody needs to do it. Somebody needs to get this new generation of agents really educated so that they can do the same thing and take care of people. It's not a money transaction.
Right.
Yes, can you make money in real estate? Absolutely. The second you start thinking about it that way and not as a relationship with the consumer and the person, that's when you start to not do well in this business because they read it. They can
Well, it's
see
funny. And I think experience like leads us to that.
Yes.
Right. And seeing it firsthand and watching people grow and being a parent and a coach and a mentor and all those kinds of things. People ask me, it's like, are you making any money on that podcast? I'm like, well, everybody likes money, but that's kind of not the reason I do it.
Right.
The reason I do it is if I can bring some knowledge to a young realtor or a realtor that's trying to do something different, or to a consumer that's gotten shut out of a market for whatever reason, and because they didn't have the knowledge or access to mortgage products that would make it happen for them. I mean, that's what I'm in this for at this point, right? It's like, and I think if you have that kind of a servant mentality, then everything will work out for everyone.
That's right.
Right.
And that works for servant leadership too. So your servant mentality to your consumer, servant leadership to your agents that work with you or your teammates, and you're just giving. I mean, at the end of the day, if you can just give every day.
So if someone's watching this and they're like, you know what, she's saying all the right things, I want to get on her team, I want to join her organization. What's the best way to do that? How can you be best found for people that want to find you, whether they're a buyer or an agent or whatever the case might be?
So they can go to my website or they can call my cell. Can I give that?
Sure.
It's 610-212-0848. Reach out to me anytime. My email's Terese, my first name, kw@gmail.com. And I love working with new agents. So if you're out there in the business and you've been in the business for less than, those 6 years I'm talking about, and it's just not clicking, it's probably because you're just doing the business wrong. Come over and talk to me. I can help fix that for you and get you situated. We're always looking for people on our team, which is great. You get to work with me directly. In my office, you get to work with me directly as well. It's just a little bit different of an animal. We have scholarships for real estate classes. So if you're out there and you know someone who's thinking about getting into the business, please have them call me. I can walk them through that whole process and get them the classes. And then they can come in and they can learn from, I think, the best in the industry. We'll teach them everything that they need to know. So that's a lot of fun.
Well, we had a guest on the show a month or so ago, and then they said something that I think is really, really true for realtors at any level, and I think it's really true for a lot of loan officers too. And that is that it can be lonely.
Yeah.
We're more or less self-employed people. We have to find our leads. We have to develop and nurture our leads, and then we have to, service that until it turns into a commission.
That's right.
Right. So, and that can be a lonely process. If you're not engaged with other people and bouncing ideas off of other people, I think work from home has become a real Achilles heel in the mortgage industry. I can't speak for real estate, but it can be a very lonely process, and you can quickly become normalized to selling one home a year if you're not if you're not engaged, fully
Right.
engaged.
You definitely need someone pushing you. I really do. Like I said, the people that come into the office are out producing the ones that don't. So there is something to be said for that camaraderie, being around the business. You learn so much just from hearing. But if other people are active and doing things, you're going to be active in doing things.
Right.
If you're at home and there's no one to watch, there's no good example. You're it. So, if you're not a real highly motivated person, it's easy to get distracted doing the laundry or, making a baked good or whatever it is that you want, or watch TV.
Right.
I mean, Netflix is like the worst thing that ever happened to all of us.
True.
I love Netflix, don't get me wrong. But I mean, at the end of the day, how much time do we waste watching these series? It's like, oh my gosh, I could have done so much more for my business if I didn't watch that 1 hour show. So, I think
I'm guilty of it though. I get hooked. I go down the rabbit hole, and
me
I
too. Just got
binge,
done
and it's
watching Reacher. All these wonderful shows. But it really does come back to being really self-disciplined. And I do think if you look at the most successful agents out there in the business, they have a really good schedule. They get up in the morning around 5:30. They do a little bit of an exercise, go to the gym, whatever it is they do. They read, they journal, they're showered, changed, and they're at the office or they're up working before most people are even out of their bed yet. So those 2 or 3 hours in the morning before the rest of the world's like kind of really going are the most productive times for most agents.
Right.
So I feel like you have to just have that discipline to be able to do that. And if you have kids, I mean, I started as a single mom and it was difficult, right? But it's a wonderful, forgiving business in that regard because I took my son on showings. It was really great. I think he helped me sell some houses. So there's really no reason that you can't get into this business, even if you're a single parent. That's all right. We can work around and
that's
the teamwork.
That's another side to it. And I had someone ask me once, and it was during or shortly after a really downturn in the market, an extended down. We've had them, right?
Yep.
We've had extensive downturns in the market. And I had someone say to me, and this is after my kids were kind of sort of already grown, they said, so if you had it to do all over again, would you still be in the mortgage business? And I had to stop because it was a little bit soured and bitter over the market downturn that we'd experienced for a couple of years.
Yep.
And I said, you know what? I think I would, because through it all, I was still able to maintain, a standard of living. And more importantly, I never missed a baseball game, a football game. Whatever my kids had, like right after school, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, plays at school, matinees, never missed any of those because I had the luxury of being able to manage my own time.
Yeah.
Right. So, and that's important.
That's
the
huge.
quality of life is important. What is Keller Williams? Lives worth having, right? So
Yep.
that's important.
Business worth owning, lives worth having, legacies worth leaving. But it is the flexibility of this business is for both of us is just amazing. You really can work everything around timing, which is awesome. And that's why I love working with listings too. I mean, listings are just a lot of fun, but you meet the seller at their house for an hour and a half, 2 hours, but everything else you're doing is behind the scenes. You can do that behind the scenes work really anywhere, right? It's just marketing. Make sure you're.
So let me ask you about listings.
Yep.
We talked about home buyers and how to work with home buyers and get them their educational needs and their resources to get them off on the right foot.
Yes.
So I feel like in the market we've had since we were in a 3-4% market, I feel like it's equally as important to work with listers because in my opinion, again, you can dispel this and I'd be happy for you to dispel this. I feel like part of our inventory process is because sellers don't know where to go.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, I have equity. I'd love to get my hands on it. I'd love to go do something different. Where do I go and how do I get there?
Yeah. Well,
So is that a new part of your process with listings, or has that always been part of the process?
it's always been part of the process. Again, it's that needs analysis. What is it they're looking to accomplish? The problem is, are we getting in front of them?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people are sitting back, waiting and seeing, but you made a great point. How many people don't realize how much equity has grown in their home? Just in the last 4 years. It's gone up so much in our area that we talk to some consumers. They have no idea that their home's gone up $200,000-$300,000. I mean, that's not 20 or 30,000.
Right.
It's 2 or
That's
300,000. So, perfect example. My next door neighbor had me come over to look at their house, and I walked in. They're like, "Okay, we think it's worth about $780." I'm like, "Well, we're going to have a great conversation because I listed it for $980, and it sold in like 2 days."
Right.
They would have sold it for $730. They didn't know. And they're very intelligent, smart people. They just weren't in tune to our marketplace the way that we are. This is why talking to a seasoned professional real estate agent is so important. You need to find out what is it really that you need to know. And we're finding people just have no clue how much equity is in there. And then as far as moving again, don't focus on that rate. You know, a lot of sellers are sitting tight because they got those rates that were a little bit lower than normal. And they're waiting because they don't want to give that rate up. But there's a reason you want to move. The house isn't suitable anymore. It's too big, it's too small, it's whatever. Maybe your job moved location and you're staying there to save this rate. But if you run the numbers and look at how much equity you can pull out, and the prices are only going to continue to go up.
Mhm.
So use the equity, find a way to buy it down and move on.
Right.
I think there's just a lot of creative opportunities out there that people need to rely on a real estate professional for.
All starts with that conversation, though, right?
It really, that needs analysis.
Got to find a professional
Yeah.
with the experience and then have the conversation.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that needs analysis is the most important thing. Just really finding out what it is that you're really trying to accomplish. Because I think a lot of people don't know sometimes.
Right.
They really don't know what they need or what they want until they have someone come in and maybe expand the horizons and thought process.
So I know you're a baseball fan.
I am.
All right. Today's opening day.
Yes, I know.
Okay.
Yes.
So I'm going to ask you this question,
Uh-oh.
and maybe we should put the Jeopardy music on. Your leadoff batter, opening day. What's your walk-up song?
Oh.
You get to pick your own walk-up song. What's your walk-up song?
Oh my gosh. I don't even know. I don't know.
Give you a second. We'll
Give
come
me a
back to
second.
that.
I'll think
We'll
about
come
that.
back to
Okay. All right.
That's a fun
That's
question.
a great
I like that.
question. You should have
I
warned me
love
about that one.
question. I love that question. Maybe should have warned you about that one. We've had some crazy answers, actually, on that question. But let me say, it's been fantastic having you here today. Not because we've known each other for such a long time, but you have so much useful market information that you've developed over time, tried and true.
Yes.
And I just think it's great. If anyone is looking for an opportunity to get into a forward-facing, forward-thinking training environment to learn how to do real estate and do it right, by all means, reach out to Terese. She's fantastic. And she's got a proven track record over how many years? Just at Keller?
32 years in the
years?
business. Oh my
Okay.
goodness. 23 at Keller Williams.
That's awesome.
Isn't that crazy?
That's awesome.
Yes.
All right. What's the walk-up song? Let's go.
What's the song with Because I'm Happy? Because I'm happy. What's that song? Oh my goodness.
I don't know.
Pharrell. Yes.
Okay.
Pharrell
So we'll go
song.
with that.
Yes.
I've just been to enough events with, my kids are younger in their 30s, and that Pink Pony song, that's the one I hear.
Oh,
I'm like, Pink Pony.
I'm just trying to think what's going to get the people in the audience going, know?
Right,
Some of those songs are awesome. I just love it.
Exactly.
Oh, so much fun. Yes.
Well, Terese, this has been amazing. I'm
Thank you.
so glad, you're very busy. It took us some time to get the scheduling worked
Yes.
out. I'm glad we were able to do that. And again, our focus with these podcasts is to educate and provide information for consumers and realtors that want to grow their business. And I think we've done that today
Yes.
with your help. Thank you so
Thank you for
much.
having me. I really
it.
appreciate it.
All right.
Thank you so
Awesome.
much.